welcome to another episode of Q It Up with the Q Brothers. I am John Quattrucci.
And I'm Ralph Quattrucci.
Ralph, end of the summer. September's here. Can you believe it's gone by that fast?
It's amazing.
Crazy.
It is quick. And I have to go back to the office 3 whole days a week starting on the 20th. What will we do?
These people are I cannot believe that they don't care about your well-being, that they're making you come in the office 3 days a week. That is outrageous.
You can't believe the angst and anxiety that people have. And listen, as a parent who had kids, preschool age and grammar school age, where I had to deal with daycare and getting to work and all that, I say let those people stay at home, work at home all the time. Because that stress probably took away 15, 20 years of my life.
You didn't have any preschool kids.
I don't.
What are you
but
talking
I did.
about?
I did. I'm just saying I know how hard it was to do that.
The problem is nobody wants to go back to work. Apple, they're all revolting at Apple. They're not going back to work.
Because you realize your work-life balance, how important this is.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, a bunch of 18-year-olds, work-life balance. Yeah, that's a real problem.
John, I'm 60 years old. And you...
Aren't you 61?
No.
You're very close to 61, aren't you?
I'm close, but I'm not. You haven't been working for, what, 2 years?
No,
really?
I've been working sporadically.
At home?
Yeah.
You travel a little bit.
Yeah.
But don't sit there and talk about 18-year-olds don't want to go back to work.
I was on the road 48 weeks out of the year. I don't even want to hear it.
You're insane.
Poor babies.
You're insane. I'm sure your wife is upset you're
and the work wants them back in. They want them back in. They're less productive at home. That's their argument.
We aren't. We're not.
I'm not saying you are, but that's the argument that most companies are having.
We're more productive.
Anyway, my point is summer's over. That's kind of sad.
Oh,
it is kind of sad. And I'm sorry you have to go back to work 3 days a week.
I'm not.
That doesn't interfere with the 3 days that you're married, right?
I'm married 7 days a week.
Well, you know what I mean. I mean physically married at the place.
You're more obsessed with my marriage.
No,
I'm
not
obsessed.
I'm not obsessed with
it.
I'm fascinated by it.
You are. That's obsessed.
You've cracked the marriage code. I keep
fascinated.
Talking about that.
It's like a honeymoon every weekend, but that's going to go away.
So
I have to eventually. I have to move in.
Well, when is that eventually going to happen? I'm curious.
When Raphael's done.
When will that be?
Hopefully June this year, but it could go.
It could be a little.
He could be a super senior. I don't know, but we're working on that one.
Anyway, I also wanted to say to you that on YKY you talked about the Woodstock '99.
Yeah.
Well, I watched it. Now, I have to tell you, I have absolutely zero memory of that event in real time. I just don't remember it. I certainly don't remember.
Slightly.
I don't remember any of the stuff that happened at it.
I remember the fires. That's what I remember about it, which is what all the news was about, that they rioted that last day.
Well, I think giving them 200,000 people candles was probably not the smartest move.
I think everything they did was pretty stupid. And overcharging them they wouldn't let them bring water in. You saw that part. I mean,
well, the guys who ran it were in complete denial over their responsibility. Well, I couldn't believe that, especially the one guy who died, the guy who did the original Woodstock. He was kind of a freak.
Well,
show.
they both did the original. Wasn't the other guy part of it?
No. Oh. The other guy wasn't. The promoter wasn't.
He was. Oh, I thought he was.
No. But he was kind of like earthy, crunchy, like, oh, it's going to be
all
fine.
hippies. I know, but
yeah, it was. I mean, what a nightmare. But I love in fact, I watched them all at one sitting because I just wanted to see what was going to happen.
It's a quick watch. That one doesn't take long.
Yeah, and it was good. And frankly, I actually liked a lot of the music. There was pretty good music in it, although Limp Bizkit kind of lit the fuse of that whole thing.
Yeah.
But anyway, I just want to tell you I saw it, so I really liked it. So, Ralph, this week we invited a special guest. Last time we had this guy on, it was a potpourri. This time I let him pick the category, which is movie franchises. We are going to recommend movie franchises, i.e. The Bond, The Bourne, a bunch of other ones. So we're going to bring him on
movie franchise.
What?
Is that a movie franchise there?
Oh, yeah, Absolutely. Okay. Absolutely it is.
So that's what you do. So it's not just sequels, but a franchise?
No, it's going to be a franchise. Yeah, not like a sequel. 2 movies doesn't count as a franchise. Okay. I mean, you look at the Bond series, how many films have been made?
Are we talking the original set or the whole set? The whole.
I would include the entire franchise from the Sean Connery till Daniel Craig. So, yeah. Okay. Absolutely. Okay. And hey, The Bourne, they went with Jerry Renner in one of the movies. So anyway, I got to introduce the guy, Ralph. You keep getting me off track here.
I'm trying to delay it.
He's been waiting quietly, patiently in our virtual green room from YKY, Mr. Chris Coker. Please give it up for Chris. Thank you.
Hey, thanks
Welcome,
for
Chris.
having me.
Yeah, thanks for being had, Chris.
No,
So
good.
it was your idea about a movie franchise, and since you are our guest,
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to know, first of all, why did you pick that? Because you could have picked anything. Why that?
Sure.
And then tell us what franchise you chose as your big recommendation.
It's a pretty obvious one, but with the Amazon coming out with their new Rings of Power series, I had to go with the with Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings. But I'm a huge fan of that series, and the books and other things. I also have I have a soft spot in my heart for Ralph Bakshi's 1976 attempt, and I do mean attempt, at bringing the Lord of the Rings to the screen in an animated way, which really at the time was probably the best idea.
Yeah.
But so long story short is somehow or another over the Labor Day weekend, I was able to, not the extended editions, but the theatrical versions. I saw all three.
Wow.
Which is, I'm not sure how I did that, but I did.
That's a lot of time.
Well, it's one of those things when you've seen the movies a few times each, you can do the dishes, you can fold the laundry. You can do a lot of those things. There wasn't a whole lot of honest to God, I'm sitting on the couch and, staring at the television.
Well, Chris, before you continue, I just want you to know, Ralph has a complete antipathy to hairy feet. Okay. He's against the whole hairy foot thing. And he's made that and all the,
I have not seen
you
one
haven't
frame.
seen any of them, right?
Nope.
Because he doesn't
No,
like
I actually dated somebody who got upset that I had not seen Lord of the Rings or read Lord of the Rings, and that might have been an issue. But also, one of our former guests, Darcy Wilkins, who did the Waterworld podcast ages ago, she and I have a running thing that if I watch Lord of the Rings, she watches the first three Godfathers. She's never seen the Godfathers. But I can't sit down to watch those. And I know I probably should, but I just can't.
Just from a filmmaking standpoint, wouldn't you want to watch those?
I'm sure it's fantastic. Peter Jackson knows what he's doing, but it's the whole Middle Earth.
Hairy feet.
Dragons, hairy feet, little people. Yeah. I just can't do it.
All right, wait. Maybe Chris can sell it for you. Maybe Chris can sell it to you.
Does he need to sell it to you or me?
No, not me, man. I love it. I love the books. I love the movies. I am not a fan of the series.
I have not watched it yet.
Yeah.
So I haven't sat down and watched it.
If you like the Jackson movies, you don't want to watch this show.
Really?
Really.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I'm still going to have to do it.
What's the flap it's
roasted.
getting? What did HBO Max do? They stopped. They didn't let them screen it or something.
No,
what did HBO
Amazon.
do? There's something.
No, Amazon.
Oh, Amazon.
Amazon spent $1 billion on it, but they don't own any of the Lord of the Ring characters from the books. They only can go by, it was an appendix in one of the Tolkien books. That's the only thing that they could reference. So basically, they're making up stories to fit this series. I think it's in 5-year series that it's mapped out. And because of that, I always talk about this, they're retconning a bunch of stuff. And they're not, people who are fans of Tolkien are very upset about what they're doing to it. But anyway, that's a whole nother thing. I love the movies, though, Chris. I love the movies.
I'm more excited to see it even now.
Of course you are.
Well, because it's like I've and on the other podcast that we've been on together, I've mentioned how I try not to be super precious about things. And don't get me wrong. Let me just give you a little background. My father, when I was very young, read me The Hobbit, right? And I had such a great time. It was it's a wonderful memory of mine, right? And then he read the Lord of the Rings to me. Now that took a couple of years. It's 3 novels, and whatnot. And let me put it this way, Ralph. My father he is not a fantasy guy. He is not into science fiction. I mean, he's seen the Star Wars movies and things, but mostly because he was taking me, But he's not into fantasy. He's not a science fiction guy. He likes, John le Carre and Westerns and things like that. That's the kind of movies he likes. Do you know what I mean? He likes movies, but for whatever reason, when he read The Lord of the Rings, he really liked it, and he read me The Hobbit because I think he had actually seen the
cartoon,
the Rankin and
Bass, yeah. Orson Bean.
Well, that's
Bilbo.
the funny thing is the version that he read me is really great. It's this giant paperback, and it's just filled with images from the animated TV.
Oh.
So it's like 75 minutes or whatever. Anyway, long story short is, I would check it out. It's one of those stories, though. It's funny in rewatching it, and I will say this, it is one of those stories that the story is strong enough that now that we're literally 20 years after those movies came out. There are, even at the time, there were some special effects in them that you were like, but at the same time, even now they look even a little bit more janky than they did 20 years ago. But the story is good enough, it's engaging enough that it just goes over all that. Not to mention, they still do the vast majority of it is practical. It's guys in masks. It's it's people actually riding horses. It's all of that kind of stuff. And it's just if there's really any criticism of those films, is that they're a bit longer than they maybe need to be.
But they also, I mean, in fairness to Jackson, it's one of the few movies that really did justice to the books, because the books, I mean, they cut out a lot of the books, but it was one of the best book adaptations I've ever seen.
Oh, it's terrific.
Yeah, he was really true to the books.
And it really keeps the spirit of the book as well. I mean,
because you look at The Hobbit, what they did with that, stretching that out to 3 movies, that should have been 1 movie. Mm-hmm. There's no way that should have been more than 1. And they had to stretch it out, and it was awful. I hated that. Because like you, that book was read to me in 5th grade by my 5th grade teacher. I couldn't get through the Lord of the Rings trilogy in high school. I could not get through it. It was too ponderous to me. Then when the movies came out, I reread all 3 books, and I absolutely loved them.
Now, what movies are you including in the franchise that you're talking about? Just the 3, or are you including that
3.
Hobbit thing too?
I would include The Hobbit. I mean, they're directed.
You'd have to include The Hobbit.
You have to.
Yeah, but it's really the Lord of the Rings trilogy for me, because those movies are just so. Each one of them is really, really good.
And just to continue on that thing with The Hobbit is, it's funny because The Hobbit has wonderful parts in it and wonderful moments. And originally, Jackson only wanted to do 2 movies. He wanted to do 2 movies instead of 3, but New Line was like, ching, 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 man. You got to stretch it out to 3, basically.
It was too thin a book to do that. It was too thin a book to do that.
Yeah. And the thing is, going back to it, so when the movies came out, I took my dad every year because he had read me the book. So I took him to the movies. And it was funny. We went and saw the Hobbit movies, but honestly, when the final one came out, we were both kind of, dreading's not the right word, but we were not excited.
Yeah.
We were like, okay, this, and we were right. I mean, at one point we were like, okay, this is another, there's really very little, by the end of the second film, there's not a lot of novel left.
Right.
We're like, okay, he's going to stretch out the big battle for 45 minutes. And sure enough, it's 45 minutes. And it's like the scene in the Matrix Part 2 when they're on the highway, Yeah. It's really great, but it's too long. At some point, I started getting a little bored of it. It was
Benedict Cumberbatch as Smaug was pretty cool.
What'd you say?
Benedict Cumberbatch as Smaug was pretty cool.
There was really great pieces.
Smaug was the dragon.
It's not Cumberpatch.
It's Cumberbatch.
What is it? Cumberbatch.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh.
Dr. Stretch.
Listen, let's play a little run of you mispronouncing names.
No, it's fine.
Exactly.
Benedict Cumberbatch. Yeah. He's great as Smaug.
But it was one of those things that with this new thing coming out on HBO, which is it's a prequel that's set thousands of years in front of the before the Lord of the Rings
on Amazon, not
Amazon.
HBO. Amazon.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Did I say? I'm sorry.
You said Amazon. Yeah, you said
my mistake.
Yeah.
So, and it's funny.
Yeah, before the rings were forged.
Well, yeah, that's the funny thing is that Tolkien wrote another book right after the Lord of the Rings called The Silmarillion.
Yeah.
And I've never been able to get through that.
Right.
It's literally like a very dryly written history book about the elves.
And the Tolkien family wouldn't give it up to Amazon.
Oh, is that okay?
Oh,
so they've basically got a very little
they got an
material
appendix to work. What they had to work with. Yeah.
Okay. But anyway, So I'll check it out and see what it is. But anyway, but like that was one of those things where I felt like, it had been a long time since I had seen them, and sitting back down and revisiting them, it just kind of reminded me how really great they are. And then if you're really into it, like I am, there's the extended editions that Jackson put out, where it's like each one has an extra like 30 to 40 minutes of footage. And the nice thing is he was very clear. He said that this is not like a director's cut. My theatrical versions are what I wanted. He's like, this is basically just
money grab.
Really hardcore fans.
No, I think it was for the fans who wanted more. I really do. I don't think it was a money grab. And it's not like fluff stuff either. I mean, there's some significant
story
some good stuff. Yeah.
I mean, sometimes it's it's a guy killing 7 orcs in a row instead of just 4. You know what I mean? Or something like that. So sometimes the action scenes are a little bit extra, but at the same time, there's their entire scenes, their stories, and all sorts of neat stuff in it. But yeah, that's one that I'm hoping that it's funny too, because when I looked it up on different streaming services, it felt like it was everywhere. Like the original, the trilogy was everywhere. It's on HBO Max. Yep. It's obviously on Amazon. It just felt everywhere. And I was like, you know what, whether or not this is a good series or not, I think it was about time for it to come back around. You know what I mean? Like people take another look at it and go, you know what? It is still really great. After 20 years, it holds up terrific.
Well, they originally wanted Jackson to be like a consultant on it, and then they ghosted him.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So, this was a year back when they were in production, and I read that, and I'm like, well, that can't be a good sign that they don't even want him involved.
Yeah.
But first of all, the cast is first rate in that. I mean, everybody in it is really, really good. And it was one of the first really realized CGI characters with Andy Serkis's Gollum, which was unbelievable what he did with that, which led to Planet of the Apes and his whole future career in motion capture. But there's just like, I always think about, I love the movies, the scene at the end when they're up on the
spoiler.
At the end, when they everyone kneels to the hobbits, nobody kneels. And that scene, I get chills just thinking about it right now. When they all knelt in front of the little hobbits, it's just say, Ralph, you ought to just check out the first one and then say, you know what? No, I can't watch this.
Yeah, I got it queued up in my Plex. I just haven't.
You need to, because from a filmmaking standpoint, like I said, it's
I got it, but I don't. I don't watch films. I don't do that.
Yes,
I talk about it.
You talked about that one from the heart. All you talked about was how it was made and how beautiful it was.
And by the way, my Japanese Laserdisc came in, and there's more scenes on that just make it.
I want to see that version because
brings it all together.
Got to be better than the one we saw.
It's beautiful.
All right, well, that's a great call, Chris. I hope that I know that you're such a big fan. I hope that you're not disappointed by the series. I'm just telling you. I watch on YouTube all these guys that are huge Tolkien fans, and they are absolutely ripping it. And it's like they're saying it's an insult to the Tolkien lore, to the Jackson movies. $1 billion is a lot to spend. They did say a lot of the landscapes and stuff, which is all CGI, look spectacular. But like the armor, they said the armor, where in the Jackson movies, the armor was made by armorers, heavy metal armor. This, you can tell it's like plastic.
Sure.
So they're like, well, they pumped some money into it, but not maybe where they should have.
Well, it's one of those things, I hear a lot about that price tag, but I mean, if it's designed to be 5 seasons long, 10 episodes a season, that's 5 feature films. That's 5 major feature films right there. That's
if it makes 5 seasons. I mean,
if it makes it that far.
Yeah,
my point is it's not like this first season cost $1 billion.
Right.
What I mean? No,
I don't listen. I mean, they do that with movies. Waterworld, they did that, and it made money, but all he talked about was the price tag. I just, I don't know. I think I'll wait for you to watch it and then let me know what you think. Is it worth even giving it a shot? Because I really do. I love the movies, and I've read the books a couple of times since the movies came out because I love them so much. So, good choice. I like that, Ralphie. I'm just dying. I'm trying to think of what 70s thing could you pick, or something that is going to tweak us, because that's what you do.
Well, I had 2 that are right there, but
this always leads to conversation about others.
Well, so it's not the one I picked, but it's one I would have if not for this other one. Is the Alien franchise?
That's great. I didn't even think of that one.
Is great.
Yeah.
And even the later Ridley Scott, I know everybody shits on Prometheus and the other one. I don't care. I love them all. Even 3, Fincher's 3, and that 4th one by the French guy is The Resurrection. I actually like them all.
Yeah.
And my favorite is the story I heard about James Cameron pitching the sequel to Alien. Did you hear how he pitched this?
To Alien?
Yeah. He goes into these muckety mucks and he writes the word alien on a chalkboard and then puts S and then makes the S a money symbol. He goes, this is what we got to do.
Yeah.
Just love it.
So would you say that was the best one out of the franchise? Aliens?
Well,
I know I think that. I definitely think
I guess I would say yes, although when you look back and you realize what he did with Alien, the first one is a masterpiece.
Yeah.
Cameron took it and went in a different direction and gave it his stamp. And that movie I saw that on midnight, the night it came out. And, you walk out of the theater. First of all, you're looking around for xenomorphs everywhere because it's late at night.
And you're sweating.
And you're just pumped. I was super
sweating.
pumped. I just thought it was,
Yeah.
And then, they slowly, progressively got a little bit worse each time. But
well, the budgets got slashed.
And I hated the Alien Predator shit that they tried to do and all that. I didn't care. But Prometheus, I really, really liked.
Well, I didn't like those movies at all.
I know. Nobody does.
My biggest...
yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say that for me, it's really a toss-up between Alien and Aliens. They are very, very different films.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I love both of them. I also saw Alien, not at midnight, but I saw Aliens when it first came out, even though I was not old enough to get into a rated R movie. That's back when they didn't really care. Like I used to, every once in a while, somebody would say, "How old are you?"
Yeah.
And but I used to remember and I always looked young. So it was never, I couldn't be 17 and somebody might buy it. It was never going to happen.
I'm doing the opposite of that now. I'm going online and getting the senior discount.
Nice.
So
the AARP.
Yeah, why not?
But one of my biggest issues with Prometheus was, have you ever seen, especially the final, the actual final trailer, right? Have you ever seen a trailer that gave away that much? I mean, it literally gave away all but the last 15 minutes. I mean, there's actually a trailer that shows the ship rolling onto
but you don't know what the context. You think it's going to be the big ship from Alien, right? I
mean, but they explain it. Literally, she goes, "Oh, it's an invitation. Oh, we were so wrong."
Yeah, but still, again, you didn't know. You think he's going to make it a direct sequel to the first one, and it just wasn't.
No, I know.
Which is what made it so exciting. Plus, they had the low rent. Who's the actor that played her husband? He's like the low rent. Who's the guy in Inception with the voice? Always does the masks. Bane. Who played Bane?
Tom Hardy.
Tom Hardy. He's like the low rent Tom Hardy.
Yeah.
Who I end up, I like that guy. He was in a bunch of great films that I like. Anyway, but that's not the franchise. The franchise I am and very excited about more movies. Stand by.
Oh, good call.
Okay.
I didn't even think of that one.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Talk about movies that have gotten better over time.
Self-destruct in 5 seconds.
By the way,
listen.
just so the fans out there know, this is why you want to subscribe, hit the notification button, and hit the like button, because Ralph has spent quite a bit of time and money and effort on sound effects, and I think he picked this franchise just so he could play that.
No, I didn't, but I did grab the sound effects because we're doing it. So it's Mission Impossible.
And that's copyrighted too, so we'll get hit on that.
Yeah, we will. It's only 14 seconds.
Okay, we're good. Good call.
Now, it's funny. This is an interesting series because it started with Mission Impossible, the first one, directed by Brian De Palma, obviously starring Tom Cruise. And that turned out to be a big hit for everybody. Mm-hmm. So now they're going to start making more and more of them. So what they decided was they were going to have a different director direct each one of these to give their little stamp.
Like the Bond movies. Yeah. That's what their thinking was. Yeah.
So the second one's directed by John Woo. Third one's directed by Abrams. Fourth one is McQuarrie, and now it's been McQuarrie because he partnered up with Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
But the through point, the through line is always Tom Cruise.
Right.
And it's funny because when these first started, I think around the Abrams time is when Tom Cruise was going through his breakdown on the Oprah couch, and he was getting a little bit weird. And
Katie Holmes.
Paramount was like, okay, we got to slowly get this guy out of this franchise. So let's bring Jeremy Renner. What's his name? Jeremy Renner, because he'll be the next Ethan Hawke. But then they're making bank on this franchise. It gets more and more money's pouring in. So it's like, we can't get rid of Tom Cruise. And on top of that, Cruise is doing these mega stunts in each of these films. He's trying to kill himself on camera.
Well, he's always done mega stunts in them, but the scope of these things are getting bigger.
Well, now it started with his rock climbing in number 2. Okay, I mean the scene in the first one on the rope in the room at the CIA, that was, he was getting very close to the ground. But then you go to 2 and he's doing that free climbing he's doing. He did that,
and the motorcycle stuff.
Well, he's in number 4, which
he did in the John Woo movie too. I mean, there's a lot of motorcycles.
But he's going 100 miles an hour on a motorcycle with no helmet on and no wires and near cliffs. So he's crazy. It's like he's trying to kill himself on camera. But it's what makes me realize that Tom Cruise is a movie star. Absolutely. And Tom Cruise will probably never do television. And he's the one actor that can do this. I mean, every one of his films now, he just outgrossed. His highest grossing film, I think, was Ghost Protocol, or the one after Ghost Protocol, Rogue Nation. And then he topped that with Maverick, right? So he's doing it. And he's about to come out with a 2-parter, the next 2 Mission Impossibles. So I just find this franchise.
Well, did you see his latest promo he just did?
Yeah, he's flying on a wing.
He's on a biplane, on top of the biplane.
No, the dude
with a
is
microphone talking about, hey, check out Mission Impossible, whatever number it was. And he's just in the air with nothing holding him down. It was unbelievable.
Yeah. I mean, awesome. I went and saw Maverick, and I know it's corny, but he did this thing where he introduced the film.
See that? They didn't show that at mine.
And he thanked everybody, all the people involved, and he thanked us for coming, and we hope you enjoy this. We did this for you. And I really believe that Tom Cruise is all in for the quality of his stuff.
Oh, I believe that.
And Mission Impossible is a franchise that's gotten better and better with age. It has.
Well, this is his first $1 billion movie, right? I think this is the first one that crossed $1 billion.
I think which one? The Rogue Nation?
No,
Rogue
this
Nation.
one. This one. Maverick.
Oh, yeah. Maverick. Yeah.
Maverick just crossed $1 billion.
Yeah.
Which seems odd, to be honest with you. I would have thought like Tom Cruise would have done that before. But I think with the of that Mummy film he did, he's never really had like a real crash and burn.
Well,
he's had some
bombs.
He did.
That one, Eyes Wide Shut, that did nothing.
Well,
the one with Cameron Diaz, Vanilla Sky, that did.
But those are good art films. They're not. They're not blockbusters.
Action,
no, but I'm saying
he's trying to do something different. That's him literally taking 2 years.
And frankly, he's good in everything he does. I think.
His
I really think Tom
stuff
Cruise
is real good. Oblivion.
And that Edge of Tomorrow,
which they're making a sequel to. I love that.
But so through all his craziness, Paramount stuck with him, or actually they didn't. They ended up going. Another company ended up taking over, Skydance or whatever, because Paramount was getting a little iffy on him. And frankly, he didn't do any of the press for the third one with Abrams because they're so worried about him. But it's a consistent series that keeps getting better and better. And everybody they add now the last few they've got the same people. Although I found out in this next one, Henry, what's his name? Savile, Cable. I can't. Henry
Cavill.
This guy.
I can understand you're very upset.
That guy.
Kittredge, you've never seen me very upset.
Kittredge.
Yeah. Kittredge. He was in that Ready or Not film. He played the father in Ready or Not, where he was funny. So he's coming back in this next one. So I think, and the stamp that each director brought, like John Woo's film is different than all the other ones.
Oh, yeah.
The first one by
De Palma.
De Palma. Oh my God, I'm getting so old. Sorry. This is why I can get the movie tickets for the old age. De Palma had his looks and his stuff on that one, and it's definitely a De Palma film. Now Macquarie's kind of taken over the franchise, so they're kind of all looking the same. But Brad Bird did the fourth one, the director of Iron Giant, which is very good. That's the one where he's swinging outside of the tall tower in Dubai.
Was that with Philip Seymour Hoffman? Was that the fourth
No, that was the third one. That was the
one.
Abrams one.
He was a good villain.
Yeah, and the wife Monahan keeps coming back, and the growth of Ethan Hawke, the character's growth, you can track through this whole series.
Ethan Hawke is Ethan Hunt's cousin.
Did I say Ethan Hawke?
You did.
Ethan Hawke.
You said Ethan Hawke.
I said Ethan Hawke.
Okay, so correct me again, will you?
Ethan Hawke is not in any of these films, but he'd be good too. I just find this franchise to be top-notch entertainment, and I look forward to it. And you know, I went through a phase where it's like Tom Cruise, I'm done. But man, I trust him on these things, and you know, the big stunts are one thing. They're pretty outrageous what he's doing. But I go to see all the other stuff that's going on, all the gadgets, and they've added Simon Pegg and Ving Rhames has stayed through the whole franchise.
What's her name? Rebecca
Ferguson is fantastic.
Yeah.
All the side characters they've brought in have been. Alec Baldwin even had a role up until the last
he
two.
Probably
I think
won't be doing this one though.
Anthony Hopkins played. A lot of gunplay in these. I don't think he wants to be involved in any more gunplay. Alec Baldwin. You know, and like I said, Anthony Hopkins played the director of the IMF in the second one.
Yeah.
A lot of good stuff. So I just find this franchise to be very consistent, and I'm looking forward to the next, which is going to be a two-parter. Yeah. I don't know how they're going to break that up.
I would say it's one of the few franchises that gets bigger with every film. Usually it goes the opposite way, right? It gets a little small, a little tighter budget. These movies, they want to. He always, and this is Cruise. You know, it's Cruise.
It's all Cruise.
He always wants to top the last movie.
Yeah,
that's why he's doing these outrageous stunts. He's always got to top the next one. I love Tom Cruise. I know his personal life is a little weird, but when it comes to making movies, the guy's a micromanager. He knows what people want. He gives them what they want, and he also does these unbelievable roles, like in Tropic Thunder, where for the first 20 minutes you don't even know it's him. And he was great in it.
I think they're doing a film all based on that.
I would pay to see him because he was so funny in that movie.
Right.
And the fact that he even did it. I mean, Les Grossman was his character.
Les Grossman.
Yeah. So go ahead, Chris. What are you going to say?
Oh, no, I was just going to say, you know, I actually just recently I saw an interview with Matt Damon, right? And he was recounting a story that when he was talking to Tom Cruise. You know, he was like, this was, you know, a while ago or whatever. And I think he was done with the Bourne series. Anyway, long story short is he was talking to Cruise and he was like, you know, so I'm explaining to the safety guy how I wanted to do this stunt. Right. And he said that the safety guy said, no, I'm not going to let you do that. That's too dangerous. And then Cruise was like, so I got a new safety guy. And like, that was just like his attitude. He was basically like, I'm not going to let anybody stop me from doing what I want to do. And, you know, one of these days that means he might fall off the side of it.
He said that. He goes, that could happen, but he wants to do them. And if the studio
he's going to die on camera.
And I think he would be content with that. I mean, that Halo jump that he did in that last Mission Impossible was unreal.
Well, that in Fallout with him and Henry Cavill, first of all, Cavill was great in that one doing his
that fight scene was
he loads his
awesome.
arms. I don't know what he was doing there. But when he's dropping down in the helicopter on that line to the, you know, it's just he gives it his all. And I think everybody that works with him feels the same way, which is this guy just gives his all.
Right.
And we all have to do as well as he does. Otherwise, what's the point?
And then
Rebecca Ferguson
do our own stunts? I don't know if we should do our own stunts stuff.
A lot of them do. Like Rebecca Ferguson.
Because he guilts them into it.
Yeah. And in that scene in, I think it's Fallout or Rogue Nation where he's doing the BMW chase.
Oh, yeah.
And he's got Simon Pegg. Simon Pegg's in the car while they're doing these stunts. And everybody trusts the guy. Right. And he's holding his breath for 6 minutes underwater.
I know.
I mean, who does that? I mean, it's
Tom Cruise.
So he's all in. So that means I'm all in. I think Mission Impossible as a series is probably one of the most consistent and gets better with age.
Yeah, I agree with that. Definitely.
It hasn't dwindled. It hasn't gone down. And that all has to do with Tom Cruise. Yeah. Now, if he does die and falls off a plane or something, I don't know what will happen. But I don't see it. I think he'll do it. That guy's aging. It's impossible.
Well, he bathes in virgin blood, obviously.
Something's going on.
It's like the picture of Dorian Gray. He's got a painting in his house that's all mangled and gross, you know. But he is, I mean, that scene in Maverick when they're all got their shirts off playing football, all these 20-year-olds, and there's Tom Cruise at almost 60. Now, he doesn't have a 20-year-old body, but he looks You know,
I
he had a
don't know what
30-year-old, 35-year-old body.
He's like Brady. He must have Brady's diet. I don't know what they're eating.
Tom and Giselle. I don't want to get into that.
Sorry. I didn't mean to bring that up.
I don't want to talk about that.
My bad. So anyway, Mission Impossible.
Yeah, no, that's
great
a good
series.
call. Again, that's Aliens and that. I didn't even think of that. Of course, I go way back, right? So I'm going through my list and I'm thinking, okay, what's my franchise? You know, I thought about The Thin Man with Myrna Loy and Dick Powell, which I love. Then, of course, I thought about Star Wars. But the reality is, when you look at all the Star Wars films, there's really only 4 that I like. Most of them are pretty horrible. And the original trilogy is my favorite, obviously. And I like Revenge of the Sith and I like Rogue One. But the rest of them I don't really like, so I couldn't pick that. So I went with, I'm a huge Star Trek fan. And I loved the Star Trek movie franchise with the original cast. I wasn't a big fan of the Generations. I even liked, even though it's really not a good film, I remember going to the premiere of the original Star Trek, the motion picture.
Motion picture?
Yeah, and it wasn't like the TV show. Robert Wise directed it, but the spectacle of it, seeing the Enterprise on the big screen with all the new tech that they had and seeing that cast back after, 11, 12 years, I remember it and just being overwhelmed by it. I thought it was a boring movie. I didn't think it captured anything in the show, but it was still cool to go see it. Well, then after it made a lot of money, but the critics didn't like it. The fans didn't like it. So you think, okay, it's over. Well, then Nicholas Meyer took over. Actually, Harv Bennett ended up becoming the producer. And he never was a fan of Star Trek. He started watching Star Trek, and he understood why the first one didn't work, which is the nucleus of Spock, McCoy, and Captain Kirk, and hired Nicholas Meyer to direct The Wrath of Khan, which I think is the best out of the Star Trek franchise. It is the best Star Trek movie. But the quality of the Star Trek movies, it's the every other year curse that they have. I don't necessarily agree with that, but I actually like The Search for Spock. More people like The Voyage Home because it was a movie for a wider audience than Star Trek. And I also like the last one, Undiscovered Country. We don't talk about Star Wars 5. We don't talk about
Star Trek.
I'm sorry, Star Trek 5. We don't talk about that. That's the one that William Shatner directed. We don't talk about that.
Which
Star
one is
Trek
that?
6 was the Undiscovered Country.
Oh, okay.
Star Trek 5 was The Search for God.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that wasn't the real name of it, but that's basically what it was. It was
Final Frontier.
Was it The Final Frontier?
Yeah, it was.
Star Trek 5, The Final Frontier.
Pretty sure.
It was terrible. And part of it was they slashed his budget. Some of the stuff he wanted to do, Shatner, he wasn't able to do. But they made up for it with Undiscovered Country, which I really liked a lot, with David Warner and Christopher Plummer was in it. And it was a nice way to send them off. I wasn't a big fan of Generations where they killed Kirk. But if you look at the as a Star Trek fan, I did enjoy almost all the movies. I loved the characters. It was great the way they gave the fans what they wanted and expanded upon it a little. Like again, not the Undiscovered Country, the one with the whales. Why am I drawing a blank on
that's the home.
Voyage
That's
Home.
the one.
Voyage Home. That one was funny. They cursed a little bit. It was so different from the other ones. So I really like that.
It takes the classic idea. By that time, pretty much everybody understands, even if you're not a Star Trek fan, you know who the main characters are.
That's right.
You get all of that stuff, and then it takes them and throws them in a classic fish out of water by taking them back to 80s America,
right?
80s San Francisco. And, there's all these little funny bits, and it really is, it's a funny film. It's got a lot of excitement in it. And, has a little thing about, hey, let's not kill the whales.
Right. Right. And after how serious The Search for Spock was, where Kirk's son gets killed,
oh my God,
and all that happened, so it was a nice change of pace, and it did great box office too. But the other reason why I like Wrath of Khan, just a memory, Ralph and I went to see it together, and we always repeat the line: "They put creatures in our bodies, made us do things, bad things."
I should have got that sound effect. Why didn't you told me?
Where is it? Yeah. But just love the franchise, and it was it's one of these franchises that I think they were pretty consistent. They had one bump, but they were pretty consistent in the quality of the film. And seeing that cast, who worked so well together, they knew each other's shorthand. It was just great to see as a Star Trek fan. So that with all the franchises out there, and you guys brought up ones that I didn't even think of. I thought of Lord of the Rings. I thought of the Bond movies. But for me, this is the one that, for me, this is the one that I would recommend the most.
If only you had all those autographs on something. That's
so Ralph goes to the Smithsonian when they had the Star
I didn't
Trek
go.
exhibition.
I was working.
And all the cast was there. And Ralph comes to me and says, "Hey, John, I got you something." I'm friggin' psyched. He got something signed. He gives me, I think it was a napkin or something. There was nothing on it. It just said Star Trek exhibition. I go, Ralph, it's not signed or anything. What? I didn't want to be a nerd. I don't want to go up to them and be a nerd. I said, Ralph, they were all there.
I think that was actually the last time they were all together, too.
So
I
that
was
broke
there.
my
I was
heart.
in the presence of watching Chekhov eat at the buffet table like it was his last meal on Earth. On Earth.
Pavel Chekhov.
I actually saw that exhibition.
I did too. It was incredible. The original model
of the
Enterprise. It was so cool.
I did the videos for that whole thing. There was
but not the
videos.
autographs. He wouldn't do that because he's a nerd. He didn't want to be a
the
nerd.
only Star Trek film I own on Laserdisc, I have a couple of the series, is The Wrath of Khan.
That's great.
I just think that movie is just...
Well, Nick Meyer took the franchise in a completely different direction.
Wow.
Militarized it. A lot of he looked at it as Horatio Hornblower, like literally on a ship. That's why even the photon torpedoes, it looks like a torpedo on a sub. I mean, he deserves, Harv Bennett and him deserve a lot of credit for the direction that
and to bring back that character was the
Khan.
And they brought that, Abrams did that, and whichever one where they flipped it with Cumberpatch.
Yeah.
Benedict Cumberpatch.
Yeah, he played Khan. Yeah.
Khan.
And he screwed it up. J.J. Abrams screwed it up too.
Well, I'm just saying. But so that's a good one. My honorary mention is the Daniel Craig Bond series.
Well, you gotta do the whole Bond series.
No, I don't.
But if you look at all the, even the Daniel Craig they weren't all good.
They were not all hits.
No.
They weren't all.
So, but if you look at the entire, even the George Lazenby movie, I really like on a Majesty's Secret Service. I really like that movie, and he only did one.
Says differently.
Yeah. And Roger Moore originally wasn't nearly as goofy as he ended up being.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he was definitely different than Connery, but they were much more serious. The first couple, Live and Let Die, was much more serious than Moonraker.
In Live and Let Die, let's not forget he does run across the backs of the alligators.
Yeah. Well, it was getting goofy. I mean, it definitely.
But no, you're right. Like in the one truly great Roger Moore Bond film,
Moonraker,
Spy Who Loved Me.
Spy Who Loved Me.
With Barbara Bach.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Wow. She's in town tonight. Ringo's
married
in town.
Ringo Starr.
Yeah,
she might be in Baltimore tonight.
He is a Beatle. Let's be real.
I guess. And they stuck it out, man.
Was he really a Beatle? Was he a Beatle?
Yeah, he was a Beatle. Listen, if you watch Get Back, man.
He was the coolest one in the group.
Him.
He was the coolest one in the group.
Yeah, but I think the overall quality, I mean, it's one, if you think of all the films in the Bond films, the franchise, Connery had some great ones, Moore had some great ones, Lazenby, and obviously Craig. Even the Timothy Dalton, one of them I really liked because he was a much more serious Bond than any of them. Mm-hmm. And that was the problem. People didn't like that. They didn't want that. Although they ended up with it with Craig. Although I think the Craig ones were more like the Bourne series. That's what it reminded me of.
Well, it is funny that you bring that up because, it's also funny how the actors themselves bring a certain vibe to it. Like Connery was great. He had this kind of rough edge to him, while Moore was much more of a polished English gentleman.
Yes.
Right? And you look at, say, Pierce Brosnan folled the more...
I forgot.
He followed more in the kind of the one-liners. Now, granted, he was saddled with two of his 4 movies were terrible.
GoldenEye, I really liked.
GoldenEye is great. And I even like The World Is Not Enough. That's the one with Michelle Yeoh.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
not
kind
the
of
one with the invisible car. You didn't like that one?
No, somehow or another,
he
the
did
invisible car,
Pierce Brosnan did 4 of those,
and the Ice Hotel. I thought was a little too far.
Yeah.
Even though Halle Berry and
is that the one with Halle? One of those had Halle Berry.
As Jinx.
Yeah, and that throwback bathing, that Ursula Andress throwback bathing suit was a high point. Let's put it that way.
I forgot about Pierce Brosnan.
That's one way to say it.
But Pierce Brosnan, but those 2 movies, the one like with Denise Richards, are we really?
Yeah,
she played a scientist.
She played a nuclear scientist.
Christmas Jones.
Christmas. I think that was her name, right? Christmas
Jones. I remember because it had one of the grossest / dumbest ending lines. I thought Christmas only came once a year.
So I think you have to give the entire Bond series props because
Oh yeah.
for the most part, I mean, 75% of the films were good. And how many films are we talking about? I mean, I don't even know the number.
Longevity is what's amazing.
Well, there's that. Well, that's again why I picked Mission Impossible, because there is, I think maybe number 2 is probably the weakest out of the 5
number
or 6
2 is
that they have
definitely
right now.
the miss.
But still, it's, if it were by itself and not compared to the other Mission Impossibles, it's a crazy John Woo film. It's great. I mean, it's just, it says John Woo.
And I would even say the first one, as far as a film, like a story goes, it was really 3 set pieces that were really, really good.
Well, Mission Impossible is set pieces filled in with, conversation.
Right.
It's all set piece. But the set pieces are unbelievable, like the dust storm and the climb in the tower and all the stuff he does is just unbelievable.
All right, so our recommendations are Lord of the Rings, Mission Impossible, and Star Trek.
Well, not all are. I mean, I don't recommend Lord of the Rings.
But. No. I'm the 3 that we each have recommended. Okay, and obviously there are other ones out there that we kind of touched upon. Like again,
I'm surprised you didn't mention Indiana Jones. I thought that would be your.
I think part of the reason why I didn't was the last one was just so bad that I wouldn't say that overall the franchise was good. Look, I think the first movie is one of the. I've said this about The Sting and Citizen Kane. It's like a perfect movie. That movie is perfect. I love that movie. I can watch it. I've probably seen it 500 times, and I'll watch it over and over again. So it's my favorite movie of all time. But I wouldn't say, like, I wasn't crazy about the second one. I thought it was not as much fun as the first one. And I liked the third one because they went back to having some fun. And Sean Connery was in it, who was fantastic. But that last one was just so bad. And now I hear rumors that they might kill him off in the next one, and they're going to make a woman become the new Indiana Jones.
All right.
Which breaks my heart because I love that character. Even an older version of him, I just love that character. But there are so many good. I mean, listen, like Star Wars, people would be shocked I didn't pick Star Wars. But if you look at the quality of the films, I mean, there's been 12 of them. I think that's the number. How many have been really, really good? I can tell you the last 6 have been terrible. So I can't lump that in with a franchise that I would recommend. Now, you want to talk about the first 3 films, and Jedi was okay, but the first 2 films I absolutely adore. I love them. I watch them all the time too. But the rest of them, I mean, no way. But there's so many. There's old ones, if you want, me, I like the classic films, but even some of the goofy ones, the road movies with Bing Crosby and Bob Hope. I mean, these were major money makers for studios where they didn't do stuff like that very often. I mentioned The Thin Man, the Andy Hardy with Mickey Rooney. These were, 10 films that made a lot of money, So they've been doing this for a while.
What about Police Academy?
Police Academy. Well, but the problem with Police Academy is, again, you're talking about a franchise that I just recently watched the first movie, and it was hilarious. I really, really liked it. All the other ones were terrible. So
that had a serious, I remember that had a serious case of diminishing returns.
Oh yeah,
and it was a pretty steep drop off from 1 to 2.
But the first one was new. It was different. It was original.
6, when even Steve Guttenberg said, "I'm out."
Yeah. The guy Michael Winslow with the, So I mean, there's the Police Squad. I mean, I love all of them.
Yeah.
And the last one wasn't that good compared to the first 2, but I still loved it because Leslie Nielsen, I could watch him read the phone book, and he's so funny, So there's a lot of them out there. In fact, if you guys out there who are watching, and based on last episode where we had 242 views because it was Elvis, maybe you can give us a recommendation.
Here's what I don't understand. Okay, we're about to do the Dollar Tree review show, right?
Yeah.
So I'm on YouTube looking at Dollar Tree reviews, and most of these people, what they do is they go into the store, and you literally see them rifle through and pick a movie. They don't even talk about them while they're picking them out, and they're getting comments just rolling. I don't understand.
I can't answer that. I can't figure it out. I mean,
why aren't we? I'll take any comment. Bad comments will, I don't care.
I've started to write
make fun of how we look.
I write a comment on every show hoping that that'll spur people on.
Nobody. I'm hoping the Dollar Tree review thing we does.
Why would
pop
it be
some
any
comments.
different? We don't get it on the other show. We don't
I
get
don't
it on
know.
this show. So I don't.
Dollar Tree reviews are getting views after view after view.
Maybe it's
so
us, Ralph. It's not me. It's
I'm
you.
starting to wonder. I'm starting to think, or
You know what it is? There's not enough sound effects.
I don't think I'll have to add.
No, I'm telling you.
Good point.
No,
I think
John, I know what the problem is.
What?
We're not woke enough, man.
Yeah, I think he might be
you
right
know
about
what?
that
I
one.
think if we were more woke, if we were more inclusive, if we were more diverse, 3 white guys talking about films, that's probably not helping us. So,
Well, I mean, no, but seriously, like, I don't, it's funny, like, the dollar review sounds like a fun idea. To me, that sounds pretty good.
I thought I had a brilliant idea. It turns out there's 8 million of them out there.
I
doing
thought he
the
had
same
brilliant
thing.
until I actually went in the dollar store and had to pick out movies, and I'm going, what garbage? I mean, there's
Oh
nothing.
no, but that's okay. I'm gonna a little preview of what I want
I've
to
got
do.
mine too. Where the hell are my DVDs? They're awful.
I want to talk about
One is called Sushi Girl.
Richard
Oh,
Dreyfuss.
I saw that one.
You saw the
I
movie,
saw
or you
that.
saw?
No, I saw that one in the store that I was in.
Like, I can't wait to watch this. But this is the kind of quality stuff you can buy it, and it's only
and
$1.25.
it's not Blu-ray; it's DVD.
I don't think it's going to be worth it. But
Well,
I
for
mean, I found a ton
$1.25 a piece.
I found a ton of Blu-rays too. So
Oh, you did? They had one
yeah.
Blu-ray in the stack that I was looking at.
Yeah, there's a ton of Blu-rays.
All right, Ralph. Before we get off too,
I'm sorry.
on track.
Yep.
So Chris, we do this little thing called Stream Quest, and it's basically what we do on YK. Ralph, can I do the Stream Quest logo this week?
Yeah.
Can I hit the remote?
Sure.
Hold on 1 second. Look at that, Chris. Look at that. You know how much we spent on that?
It
All
looks-
right, so Chris, here's what we do. We just talk about one show that we're currently streaming
Or movie
watching
or whatever.
on a streaming service.
Mhm.
Anything you're watching right now that you want to talk about or mention.
Seven Samurai. No, I am. watching-
Did you watch it yet?
I actually watched the first half.
Have you seen it before?
Yeah, a couple times.
I've never.
Now, do we
seen
all
it,
have to watch the short version of that or the long one?
Well, I think.
I'm watching
I think
You're watching the long one, Chris?
Is the long one in HBO Max?
Yeah, that's the one on HBO.
Okay, so that's the one.
Criterion.
Everyone should watch the long one then,
Yeah.
because TCM's got one at 240.
Yeah. The only thing, really, the only thing that I've watched lately that I wasn't just talking about. I have been watching, and I'm about halfway through Sandman on Netflix, and I'm really enjoying it.
You are? Because I haven't watched that yet, and I want to.
It's really different. It's kind of cool. Like if you like kind of quasi-religious fantasy type
I
stuff,
love Lucifer.
then you might really enjoy it. But it actually makes me want to bring up a slightly different point. And this is something that I've really gotten a little annoyed with, not just with Netflix, but with all streaming services. Part of the great thing about streaming services is when they first came out was that the idea, hey, you watch it on your time, right?
Right.
But now it almost feels like, and maybe it's just because I'm reading too many things online, but like, I feel like if I'm not watching these shows as soon as they come out, they're getting canceled, or they're not, that people aren't saying enough about them. And I'm like, wait a minute. I don't want to feel like I have to rush to go watch a show, because what happened, the reason I mention it with this one is, even though the series has done pretty good numbers for Netflix, and they've said it's done good numbers, the guy behind the whole story, Neil Gaiman, the writer, he basically, he even in an interview said, hey, everybody, if you've started Sandman but haven't finished it, go finish it. And maybe you want to tell some friends to watch it too if you actually want to see a season 2. Because Netflix, at least at the time that I read this article, which was granted a couple weeks ago, but they were like hemming and hawing. Now, part of it is
You're talking about hemming and hawing for season 2.
Yes.
But they're not going to pull the first season.
No, they're not going to pull it off
okay.
or anything like that. But they do have this tendency to cancel shows that are expensive,
Right.
Relatively quickly if they don't do the numbers that they want. And it's one of those things where, like, now all of a sudden I feel like I've got to. And I'm like, that's the whole thing I liked about streaming. Like, even Stranger Things, which I really like.
I haven't watched that yet.
I didn't get around to seeing the first season of Stranger Things for like 3 months.
Yeah.
Just because I had other things to do, and so like now I'm like suddenly all of a sudden I'm seeing shows that I like that are getting canceled after being on streaming services for less than a month.
Well, you like Cowboy Bebop, right?
Well, Cowboy Bebop's one. There was
Yeah.
another one the year before called Jupiter's Legacy, which I didn't really think was all that great, but it was one of those ones. Big cast, very expensive looking, obviously very expensive. They said they weren't going to renew it for a second season.
That was a superhero show.
Yep.
Yeah.
Another one of those like superhero realistic kind of.
Yeah.
It almost felt like Netflix was like, oh well, everybody else has one of these.
Yeah.
We need to get one too. But anyway, long story short is enjoying The Sandman, but also feeling a little angry that I feel pressured that I've got to watch these shows like the moment they come out. Like I haven't finished on Amazon, which I'm really enjoying, a show called Paper Girls, and I'm like, oh, I got to get around to finishing it. I've only got like 2 episodes left. I really like it, but God knows that I don't want the algorithm to be like, oh, he never finished it, so it's not a good thing. He'll never watch a season 2. Something like that. Anyway.
Ralph, how about you?
I've been very busy, but I did stream a movie. I love watching shark films because I compare everything to Jaws, which it's not fair. But
right.
I found this one called Great White. I'm trying to see the year it came out. 2021. And it's a goofy shark film. Bunch of people fly into a place and things happen and they end up in a raft and they're being circled by 2 killer whites. But it's kind of fun. And the woman, the actress who plays one of the main leads, do you ever see the movie Dale in the horror spoof Dale in? I'm trying to think of the name of that film. Sorry.
Oh, someone brought it to the
Katrina Bowman. Katrina Bowman is her name. Tucker and Dale versus Evil, which is a great horror spoof. She played the lead in that, or one of the leads in that, and she's in this one as well. What I liked about it was it twisted some things at the end where I expected certain things to happen, and they didn't. And specifically, something that happens to one of the main characters, I said, okay, something.
She eats the shark.
No.
Oh,
pretty close to that.
Whoa.
But no, they flipped a couple of things that normally in these kind of movies wouldn't have happened. Especially that she's playing a newly pregnant woman who's hooked up with the other lead actor. So they did some things that I didn't expect. It's not a great film, but I do love watching.
She was pregnant and she hooked up with the guy.
No, I'm saying with the guy that's the other actor, the other main guy in the film. They play a couple.
Oh, okay.
They just discovered that she was pregnant.
Oh, okay.
Obviously, they're going to be in peril now because they figured this out. But other things happened that they kind of flipped some things that normally would have been another way. Not a great film, but still a fun shark film.
Was it streaming?
Yeah. I don't know where I saw it. I might have seen it on some.
Well, if you're going to make a recommendation, you got to tell us where it is.
I'm seeing where it because I think
what the hell is that?
Well, you have to find it like everything else.
Hey, someone comment on that.
AMC Plus.
AMC Plus?
Yes.
Oh, you got to have AMC Plus.
But that's not where I watched it. But I'm not going to say where I watched it. So, yeah. Let me just say a VPN might have been involved.
Oh, okay. I got you.
Okay?
Okay, I got you.
And it's got a 4 out of 10 rating on IMDb. So, I said, it's not a great film.
Solid film.
I do recommend it.
It's funny. I just watched
I like bad shark films. Do you ever see The Shallows with Blake Lively?
That's the one where she's stuck on a buoy, right?
Stuck on a rock or a buoy or something.
Yeah,
it's a good film. I don't know why you guys are both,
I didn't see it.
It's Blake Lively stuck on a rock in a bikini. Yeah. So, okay, whatever. Nice. And there's a shark in there too, I think.
There is a shark though.
I think so.
You think so? I think there might have been one. All right. Well, I will tell you what I watched last night.
Oh boy.
And I was not going to watch
Seven Samurai.
I was not going to watch this movie, but I said it's on HBO Max now, so I'm going to watch it, even though every instinct in my body told me not to. I watched Jurassic Park Dominion.
Oh, I thought you were going to do something edgy.
And Chris, did you see it?
No, I didn't even see the second one. The second
one with Chris Pratt.
Right, Fallen Kingdom. I think that's
Ralph, have you seen it?
I have.
So
talk about the Bourne Identity.
Let me first say it wasn't nearly as bad
as your friend made it out to be.
I thought it would be. A friend of mine who I respect, movie-wise, said he walked out after an hour. It wasn't that bad. I will say it was, if they took the 3 movies that they made and made them 3 separate movies, I probably would have liked it more than I did, because it was like 3 separate movies. And the whole point of the movie was they brought back Sam Neill, Laura Dern, and Jeff Goldblum. But they didn't hook up with Chris Pratt and what's her name, Howard there.
Dallas Bryce
Howard till the end of the movie. And, Sam Neill is in his 70s and Laura Dern is in her mid to late 50s. And they're romantically involved, which is, a little bit creepy. But I mean, I got to say, it wasn't great, but I did not hate it viscerally like people have been telling me how bad it was. It wasn't. There was some interesting things in it. It was kind of cool to see them back in the movies, and of course, the CGI is just spectacular. It just looks so good because the technology has improved so much. I still think the first one is brilliant, and I think everything in the first one works. The other thing this director did, there was more practical stuff in it than you have seen in these Chris Pratt movies. And I like Chris Pratt. I think he's a likable character. Yeah. Well, that whole thing. Well, but okay. So they got everybody doing that in this movie.
Yeah.
The T-Rex comes up, and Jeff Goldblum's like, "So you're just holding up your hand?"
At least he acknowledged how stupid that was.
He had some funny stuff to say. So I have to tell you, it was long because it's an extended edition. So I didn't see the original cut of it, but it wasn't nearly as bad as I thought it would be. It's not a great movie. It's nothing like the original Jurassic Park, but there were some things in it that were interesting. The cast was pretty decent. Ralph, what did you think about it? I don't think we've ever talked about it.
I liked it. Part of the reason I liked it is you bring those 3 main characters back who you love from the first one, and you kind of want to get that back. Their storyline is stupid with the locust, the giant locust,
and the kidnapping plot
that they bring Dodson back from the first film,
Dodson,
like a non-character, right? But they also had which I thought got lost. They had the Barbasol can.
Well, that was a Easter. It did get lost. That was an Easter egg from the first movie.
So I guess he went and got it or something.
Yeah.
And that's
the real actor who played Dodson died. So they brought in Campbell Scott, who plays a Steve Jobs.
He's basically playing Steve Jobs.
White hair, real. But yeah, they had a couple of those things that they had Easter eggs from the original movies, which was pretty cool.
But the last film before this one,
the Kingdom one,
they promise that you're going to see dinosaurs in real life.
Yeah, well,
and as a
they
matter of
did
fact,
that.
some of the things from the trailer. Now, maybe the extended version. Did it have the drive-in scene where the T-Rex attacks the drive-in?
Yeah.
That wasn't in the cut I saw.
That was in this
So,
one.
I mean, what you wanted to see was dinosaurs,
right?
In like San Diego, but spread out over the whole country. Right. And they did a little bit of that where a big brontosaurus is helping these guys plow something. I forget. And Chris Pratt's riding horses.
The motorcycle chase, raptors are chasing him through, I don't know what city they were in, but he's chasing him through the city. He's on a motorcycle because some woman tagged.
I thought that was cool that they tag.
Yeah,
tag him.
Well, great character she was, right? She was a good character, wasn't she?
She was all right.
What happened to her?
She's dead, right?
You never know.
I don't care.
You never saw her again. She tagged him, and you never saw him again. You know what you got to watch, Ralph? That guy who does the movie pitches.
Yeah,
he does one on this. That's really funny.
You got to watch. 2 guys? That's one guy.
No, it's one guy. He plays both roles.
Oh,
yeah, super easy, barely an inconvenience. Hitting guys with a laser is tight.
Like you, wasn't great. Didn't hate.
Yeah,
I was like, but they all got a little. And I think out of all of them, I think Bryce Dallas. I like her the most out of these. Chris Pratt is getting a little bit cliched.
She's
with his
doing
roles.
Parkour. I mean, come on, Ralph.
That whole scene, like I said, that's the Bourne Identity scene.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
Bonus Aries. Were they in Bonus Aries?
Buenos Aires. I'm not sure. And then I don't know. It was okay. I will tell you this.
And then the thing about these films, any of these films, when someone slides into the ice, like Chris Pratt slides through the ice, there's got to be hypothermia.
No,
something.
he's jacked, man. He doesn't have to worry about hypothermia.
God, nothing happens to these.
I would say this, Chris. I'm glad I didn't see it in the movie theater and pay money for it.
Yeah,
but seeing it on HBO Max was a fine way to watch it. Sure. And I have to say, it wasn't like I was bored. I was looking at my watch. It wasn't anything like that. I mean, you looked at some stuff and went, well, that's kind of stupid. Mm-hmm. But overall, it wasn't bad. It was a summer movie that it was 2 hours.
So that's a series. That's a film series.
Yeah, but the only one that's any good is the first.
Really,
the first one is.
Well, that's the OG.
But it's not just that it's the first. It's definitely, like, I read the book, And when I heard the movie was coming out, I was like, well, how are they going to do some of the scenes? Because this was, before they really had CGI. So you knew it was going to be animatronic or maybe stop motion they were originally talking about. But I'm like, how are they going to do some of this stuff? And then when you actually see, like that whole T-Rex scene, when you read it in the book, you're like, there's no way they're going to be able to do this. I mean, how do you do this in a movie? And they did it, and it looked fantastic, and it was freaking scary. And, it was just such and the cast was so great. The other ones were okay. I mean, I think the problem is that when you first saw that first movie, and the scene I think of is when Hammond drives up with the scientists, and they're all looking up, and all you see, it's a typical Spielberg thing. They take their sunglasses off and stand up as they're taking them off, and they're looking in awe. And then the camera pulls back, and you see that dinosaur.
Yeah.
The novelty of that was just like, wow.
Well,
and then
Laura Dern does that in this film. She takes
right,
the glasses
of course.
off the same way.
But it's not the same. That's why none of them stacked
Listen, I'm
up
partial
to
the third one.
Oh, with the when Sam Neill came back?
Sam Neill and the T-Rex, he has a dream, and talking
to him. The raptor.
The raptor's talking to him on the plane.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Hey, Alan.
It's great stuff.
Hey, Alan. But that movie's bad too. The little kid goes windsurfing over this island with
bad,
dinosaurs.
But it's good. That's bad,
come
but
on.
good. That's a bad but good film.
Chris, you like Jurassic Park, obviously, right?
Yeah, I really liked the first one. I also read the novel when it came out, and
look at you, readers. You guys are all
I enjoyed
readers.
it.
Great.
Oh, that Michael Crichton's great. I love Michael Crichton.
Second one, do you remember like where there's that period in the 90s where like it felt like every book he wrote up until that point had been optioned? Like 13th Warrior. I mean, that was like a little slim novel of a book that he wrote called Eaters of the Dead. Anyway, Sphere, Congo.
Sphere and Congo were very good books. Horrible movies. I mean, they were.
Amy Wong.
Dustin Hoffman, Sharon Stone. I mean, that movie was so bad.
I don't even think I ever saw Sphere. Sphere
was terrible. Terrible.
I just can't remember it.
The one I like is it was in the 70s.
Yeah, he had some films from
the one with the virus.
Andromeda Strain.
Andromeda Strain. Excellent. When the lasers are getting James Olsen, he's climbing up the ladders. That was so good, man. I love that movie. But
everything he wrote at some point got optioned. I mean, I'm sure he's passed away 10 years now at least. But like,
I actually have an autographed copy of Jurassic Park, a hardcover autographed copy from Michael Crichton. I got it for Christmas. Yeah.
You got it certified? Is that certified?
It has not been certified, but in my mind, it is certified.
So I could have just written 7 names on a napkin. You wouldn't have known the difference.
No, I know I have William Shatner's autograph, so I know what his autograph and Leonard Nimoy.
Okay.
So I actually had Nichelle Nicole, but I sold it on eBay. Made some money on that. All right. Well, listen, Chris. This was a great addition, great topic too. Every now and then we have trouble finding a topic. This was beautiful. Opened up a good discussion.
No dead, but didn't talk about anybody dying. That's always good.
I'm sure somebody.
Other than careers, a couple careers died, but that's all.
A couple careers died.
Yeah. I hope we get some comments. Something. Maybe we got to piss people off or something.
Maybe we're not confrontational enough. Is that the deal?
That's it. Maybe we all get on here and we all kind of, even if we dislike the movies, like, we all have brought movies that some or many of us have disliked in the last, as we've been on here. Well, maybe we don't get upset enough. Maybe we need to go a little Real Housewives on one another, and then the show.
I got some secrets.
I think you're probably right. We need a little more confrontation around these films. Yeah. Yeah, well, did you watch that movie with your head up your ass, Ralph? Because that movie sucked.
Yeah.
Is that what we're talking about?
I think that's good, man.
We can do that.
I don't know if I can generate that.
All right, one last thing.
Yeah. Oh.
This tape will self-destruct in 5 seconds.
We better hurry. Let's go.
Hey, thanks for joining us, Chris. Thanks, everyone, for watching. And we will talk again. Hit the subscribe. If you like this, hit the like and share it with people, okay? Have a great week, everyone, and we'll talk to you soon. Let's rock out to the music, Ralph.
Thanks, Chris. Appreciate it.